Hello, and thank you all for attending today's Desco webinar covering the topic of personal grounding testing and EPA access control. My name is Paul Rosas, and I will be guiding you through today's webinar. I am also the technical support manager for a number of software-based products Desco has to offer, such as the Smartlog Pro. Performing our live demonstrations today is the West Coast Regional Sales Manager, Greg Heckler. And fielding all of our questions today is the Desco brand manager, Jeffrey Brake. Now for questions, on the right side of your screen, there should be a panel with a questions box as shown on my screen. We ask that you submit any questions that come to mind either on the section we are covering at the time or something that was mentioned previously. We also ask that all questions pertain to today's topic. We'll periodically break to address those questions, so please submit yours throughout this webinar. Today's outline looks like this. We'll be covering requirements for testing, types of testers, software and reporting, as well as access control and accessories. Now, when developing your ESD control program, the S2020 document, which provides guidelines for your program, lists a table of what each grounding device is to be measured and tested at. For anyone not familiar with this section or the S2020 document in general, it's available for download off the ESD Association's website. Desco also provides a link to this website under the resources tab at desco.com. Testing of your grounding devices should be performed daily and in accordance with section 7.4 compliance verification plan. Those tests are to be logged. Now, there's really no requirement on how those logs are to be captured. Traditionally, this is done manually with a written log. And what we've seen over the past several years is this method get improved to a software-based system, such as our Smartlog Pro. Now, I'll get into how that system is much more effective later on in this actual webinar. Now, Desco offers a wide variety of periodic testers, which are all manufactured here in Chino, California. All are also calibrated and made in accordance with the requirements and recommendations of the ESD Association. Today's focus will be on the three testers pictured below. We have our Combo Tester X3, the newly Combo Tester X3 Plus, and our Smartlog with data logging software. Now, all of these testers essentially perform the same overall function of testing your grounding devices, but each offer unique features that Greg Heckler will demonstrate shortly. All of these testers also offer optional accessories that can either broaden the types of testing that are done, offer an added level of access control, or maintaining annual calibration of each one. Now, with the recent COVID-19 virus pandemic, more and more quality engineers are concerned about cleanliness. With each of the testers being demonstrated today, they all require operator contact with the switch to initiate the test. Desco recently released a contactless test switch accessory that eliminates this operator test interaction. And Greg can touch on it more and provide more details on its functionality during his live demonstration that's coming up. Now, prior to us getting into this live demonstration, we'd like to just quickly break for any questions that pertain to what has been covered to this point. This will allow us to address any questions you have either on the products that we've gone through just briefly or the table and associations that I'd mentioned just right now. So I'll go ahead and allow Jeffrey to bring up any questions that may have come up to this point that we can address.
Paul, there's a question about the S2020 document and what the cost is for that. It's I can answer. It's a free document that's published by the ESD Association. You can download it, like Paul said, you can download it from their website. We also have a link on our website to get to it. The ESD Association is the group that sets the standards for ESD control in electronics production areas. If you're not a member, we'd highly recommend you look into doing that and becoming a member of the ESD Association. There's other standards that they publish. Some are no charge, some are free. as a member, you get a discount on those published documents. So that's the only questions we have right now. But I would invite anybody to please ask your questions as we go, and there'll be a couple more breaks for us to stop and discuss those questions. Thanks again.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeffrey. So now we're going to go ahead and get into our live demonstration with Greg Heckler. Greg Heckler is going to take you through the 3 testers I talked about right now, provide some general overview and some basic features, and then we'll get back into more of on the data logging side of it.
Yes. Can you hear me, Jeffrey?
Yes.
Okay. Again, I'm Greg Heckler. I'm the Regional Sales Manager with Desco. I'm also an ESD certified technician, and I've got about 39 years of experience in static control. So I'll be helping answer some of your technical questions. And after the presentation, if you have a technical question on just about anything, feel free to email us and I can help you out with that. So as Paul mentioned, we're going to be just discussing the 3 testers that he pointed out to you. He also mentioned the ESD standard and the resistance limits, for instance, that it requires the human body to meet. Another point to make also is that when it comes to compliance verification, this is also a mandatory process. So for wrist straps, you have the option of doing touch testing, which is what these types of testers are, or you have the option of continuous monitoring. But when it comes to footwear, your only option is the touch testing. So I'm going to take you through the process of all these testers. And before I go into that, each one of these testers, or all 3 of these testers, have 3 basic things in common. One, they test all 3 personal ground devices with a single press of the button. Now, many of you might have what's some older style technology whereby you have to test your wrist strap, flip the switch, and then test your left foot, test your right foot, or each grounding device independently. So these testers step it up a notch and allow you to test all 3 with a single press of the button. The other advantage to these 3 testers is they have a higher test voltage. And so unlike some of the previous testers, which typically test around 5 volts, that takes you about 5 seconds per test to do. These testers do it with 30 volts, and that allows you a much faster test cycle. So all 3 of these testers test all 3 devices in less than 2 seconds. The other advantage to that too is with that higher voltage, it helps test accuracy or reliability. And especially in those climates where you have dry, where you got low humidity, those like Midwest, Arizona, etc., you might come in early in the morning and you haven't started sweated, and you step on your foot plate and you get a fail hot. Well, that 30 volts makes a huge difference in not only test reliability, but speed. And then the other thing all 3 testers have in common is they all 3 have a relay circuit in them. So we're going to get in a little bit more about access control in a minute, but that will allow you to, for instance, open a door solenoid, an infrared beam, such as say a light tower, a turnstile like I have over here on the Smartlog Pro to demonstrate to you. So those are the 3 things that all testers have in common. It's just that I step up to each level of tester, it adds more and more features. So one of the things I'm going to show you real quick, I'm stepping down here to get that because my camera's not low enough, but all 3 testers come with this dual foot plate. So you can see that each foot is tested independently, whereas one of your other single type testers may only have 1 foot plate. So just so you know that that's what I'm standing on right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug my wrist strap in here, and I have a single wire wrist strap, okay? And just so you know, all 3 testers also, they test both single wire wrist straps and they test dual wire wrist straps. So another thing that all 3 testers have in common, and one of the improvements we've made over the years, is to go with a solid state test switch. Unlike former testers that use a spring-loaded type test button, those springs could break over time, etc. So these are all solid state. They have this flashing blue LED that you're seeing here, so that helps guide your operator in where they're supposed to push. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got my foot grounders on. I'm standing on both plates. I'm going to make a test, and as you'll see, hopefully you can see this, I get a pass left, pass right, and a pass on my wrist strap. And you'll also notice just how fast that was. Whereas a regular tester, that would have taken you about 15 seconds or so to complete. So one of the great things about these testers, especially if you've got a lot of operators, they can get on and off their tester and get to their desk as soon as possible. All three of these testers also allow you to adjust the resistance test limits. On this tester, it's more of a, there's dip switches along the side here, which I can adjust those test limits. So for instance, this one comes standard set at 35 meg for the operator, for the wrist strap, and it comes at 100 meg for the footwear. But I can adjust that up or I can adjust that down, and I can do the same thing on the other testers. So I'm gonna get over here to our new Smartlog Plus. Plug my wrist strap here, going in again. And what we add here is we add the 5-inch color touchscreen, as Paul mentioned, but we also add color pictograms. So the operator can tell exactly what they're supposed to be testing. And this can be programmed as to what they're supposed to test. So if they only need to test a wrist strap, you would only see the wrist pictogram. Likewise, footwear and or wrist, you're gonna see one or the other or all three. The other thing that this tester adds is it also adds temperature and humidity recording. So one of the nice things about that is that on some, you can monitor throughout the year whether I'm having problems with high failures and such. And then I've got a recording of say, oh, it was 15% humidity that day. Maybe that was the problem. Another feature this adds is it adds the ability to record the actual resistance of the operator. So unlike this one, I can now know that that person's wrist strap was 1.5 meg ohm or something like that, or my feet were 10 meg ohm at the time. So that's some additional features that the standard combo tester doesn't have. So again, I'm going to make a test on this, okay? And so you'll see the louder volume, or hear the louder volume also. And again, if I pass, I get this bright, oh, I wasn't standing on my plate, sorry about that. If I pass on all three, I get 3 green lights. But I can demonstrate like I just did, basically. I'm lifting my right foot. You'll see that my right foot failed, and it gave me the resistance numbers for each one of my grounding devices. And again, it's got the same high reliability switch here that I showed you on that one. I've also added an LED here to the relay circuit. So if you watch, I'll try and make this so you can see it here. If you watch, you'll see that, oh, I failed. So obviously it wouldn't let me in the door. I'm standing on the plate now. You'll see that the lights go, it opens the relay and opens the door. So that's the advantage of this particular tester. So even if you're using this tester or any other tester, this is the next level up in testing technology. So now I'm going to move over to our Smartlog Pro, and you're not going to be able to see me necessarily, but hear me. And I'm sorry for the extra light here, but we have the same 5-inch color touchscreen on this particular tester. One of the things that's added here is that we also have this section down here. It's an HID, copy of an HID badge. So this touchscreen is also programmable. You could add your company's logo there if you want to. This particular tester, you can access 3 different ways. One is a proximity badge reader. 2 is the touch, the keypad. And then 3, I don't have this active, but on the right side here, there's an infrared barcode scanner. So no matter how you access your building, your doors, etc., or if you just want to use a keypad, you can access this tester with that. And again, we have single wire connection and a dual wire connection, the same solid state test switch. So I'm going to plug this in and I'm going to show you real quick how to perform a test, same as I did on the Plus. Now you'll notice I got a pass on that, and pass on my left, and a fail on my right. So I'm going to stand on the tester on the foot plates properly. And now I get all 3 pass. It's going to accept the relay and allow me to go through the turnstile. Or it might light my light tower and give me a green light, etc. But these 2 testers are always going to let you know which grounding devices you are passing or failing on either one. This tester also gives you temperature and humidity, and it gives you the resistance numbers. So the big difference between the Smartlog Pro And the Combo Tester X3 this is a software-driven product now, and it's going to allow you to record all this data. And that's where I'm going to send you to Paul now, and he's going to explain that, and then we'll answer some of your questions as well. You ready to go, Paul?
Craig, we have a few questions.
Sure.
So on the Combo Tester X3 and X3 Plus, are you required to test all functions, both foot grounders and the wrist strap?
Well, that's a good question. It depends what your static control program, how you've written that. If you obviously, people sitting at their workstation are required to wear a wrist strap or ground the body via a wrist strap. If you want to ground mobile personnel, you need an ESD floor of some type and then ESD foot grounders or shoes. So you can tell the tester what you're supposed to test, this one and the X3 Plus. So it depends what your static control program says you're supposed to do. But if you're wearing foot grounders or ESD shoes, obviously you need to wear them on both feet. You can't just wear one foot grounder. And if you tell the tester that the employee is supposed to wear foot grounders, if you're not wearing two, you're going to fail on one of those. And if you fail on one of those, you're not going to be able to use the access or relay portion because the standard requires that you wear two foot grounders or two ESD shoes. Any other questions?
So you need to have a passing result to activate the relay, right? There's no way to bypass that.
No, there's no way to bypass that. All the products that we make are designed to meet the requirements of the standard.
You don't have to use the relay function too, right? There are situations where you wouldn't hook it to a door, right?
Right. No, that can be shut off. And also one of the features, Paul may mention this also, but on this product, the relay, the length of time the relay stays open is adjustable. So if I have to walk 10 feet, I might give myself a little extra time to get the door. But obviously I wouldn't want to be open for 30 seconds and have a whole bunch of people walk in behind me. So as Paul's going to mention, but we've thought about everything you could possibly think of in the Smartlog Pro.
That was actually another question about the adjustments on the relay. So I think you kind of answered that there. That is, it can be the time that it's activated can be modified only on the X3 Plus and the Smartlog, right? It's fixed on on the regular X3, right? Yeah.
Yes, so, that's correct.
Okay, I think that covers the questions we have for right now. I want to one thing I do want to reiterate: the X3 Plus will note the temperature and humidity, like it's up at all times, but it doesn't record it or anything. It doesn't record any tests. The Smartlog will record the temperature and humidity when the test is done, and I think Paul's going to touch on that a little bit in the software part. So let's go over to Paul. Let's see here. Get Paul's computer back up. There we go. All right, Paul, are you there? Paul?
I'm here.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Greg, I'll need you to kind of stand by. I'm going to have you perform a few tests later on so I can show everyone some of the results in the program. So appreciate you doing that demonstration. Now, when it comes to data acquisition and kind of transitioning more to the Smartlog side of things, I'd mentioned previously that you are required to have a log, and whether that log's paper or electronic, some type of log needs to be recorded and presented when asked. Now, with paper log systems, they're known to be initially effective, especially with a smaller base of, let's say, 25 to 30 operators and 1 or 2 testers. As you grow, it's going to be a lot more difficult to maintain and collect those records. And a lot of the feedback we've received is basically what's bullet pointed on this particular slide. Do your logs show any failures? You know, initially they're effective because there's the attention focused on them. But as the person that's maintaining these logs is tacked on with other projects, there's less and less importance on it. So one of the things you'll notice is, do these logs have any failures? If you're not really paying attention today, the operators will tend to just write whatever result down for future days. So do your logs have reportings for future days? And the operators are actually truly using it. You really don't know how long it took for them to actually pass that test. You know, you're only seeing what's written on that piece of paper. So it could have taken them 9 tries before the 10th try they got that pass. So not only is this information at times not reliable, but the amount of time that you're spending collecting it from each tester, uploading it into a spreadsheet, sharing it with whoever needs to see it, and then placing it in a filing cabinet is just well too much to be doing at this time. So the Smartlog system eliminates this entire process and gives you a lot more flexibility to remotely receive these results and view them from your desktop PC. Now, there are several features to the Smartlog that obviously Greg wasn't able to capture in this short amount of time. So some of the highlights that I'll go over again were there are 3 different ways to identify yourself: proximity, barcode, and keypad. The one unique feature about our tester is that you can customize it yourself. So if you don't want to use a keypad, you can turn it off. If you don't want to use the barcode, you can turn it off. You have the option to tailor this tester based on what fits your needs. So that's one of the benefits of this software-driven tester. Greg touched on the abilities to test wrist straps, whether it's single or dual, footwear, whether it's heel straps and shoes, as well as smocks and gloves, assuming they're ESD safe. Now, I previously mentioned some accessories, and one of those accessories was a glove testing accessory. So that's an add-on accessory, but all the other testing aspects are included in the actual standard tester. Now, the larger screen, like Greg had mentioned, just gives you a better visual as an operator on what you're doing, who you are, and what you did. So the ultimate goal is to create less confusion at the tester, get them from point A to point B as quickly as possible. And the color-coded screen and the results just give you that easy identification what took place after you performed your test. So not only do you see that visual alarm, but you also get an audible version as well. Now, here are some, and again, you couldn't see it on those live videos, but here are some of the screenshots you see on the actual tester. These are what the operators are going to see each and every time they test. It identifies who you are, the type of test you're going to perform. We roughly give you about 10 seconds as default to perform that test, and then you get the visual of what you're testing. Now, the results page is very important, especially with footwear. You know, it's common for you to fail your left or your right. And what the screen does and those visuals do is give you the indication on what foot failed. So you're able to, as an operator, step out of line, adjust your strap, maybe replace it, get back in line, and retake your test. And the upside to the software is that your supervisor gets notified if you don't perform that second test. So it's not a fact of I did a test, here's my result, and let me get to my station. It's here's my test, I failed, I better correct that, or else my supervisor is going to receive a message indicating that I failed. Now, the access control side, which we briefly touched on, and you actually got to see it with Greg in that live demonstration, can be a number of things. You know, it could be a electronic door switch. It could be a turnstile like Greg was demonstrating. Turnstiles are something that we as a manufacturer offer now. We've partnered with Alvarado, who's a local turnstile manufacturer, and we actually supply the entire system. But that doesn't mean you can't utilize your own. This tester and all 3 testers that Greg demonstrated are all backwards compatible with existing turnstile systems, as well as door relays and light towers. So you're not required to purchase one from us. Turnstile is probably the best and most effective way to manage access control, because the only way to function and for you to get through is to pass your test. And with all turnstiles as well as ours, there are a lot of security aspects and emergency drills where if there was a loss to power or there was an emergency, they all unlock and go into a free flow mode so people can leave and come without having to test. So before I get into more of the software and the data collection side, I wanted to open up to any questions on maybe specifically the Smartlog hardware that anybody has prior to me getting into the software side of this system. So Jeffrey, are there any questions that have come up to this point in regards to the Smartlog or the relay or access control?
One question about how do we deal with or how can they deal with guests? So people who would not be in the database necessarily on a smart log. Is there what are the ways to work around that?
So what I've always recommended is in the software, you have the ability to create guest profiles. The best method that we suggest is to set aside 5 badges, assuming your facility uses badges that are tied to guests. So they're pre-programmed in the software, they're preloaded on the tester. So when a guest does arrive, like a visitor, they'll be able to retrieve a badge from receptionist, go to the tester, perform a test, and then at the end of the day, you'll receive a report that indicates what visitors came and how frequently they came. So you're not limited by using a badge. You could obviously input a special key code using the keypad that allows you to identify you're an operator as a guest and you go through. So the best suggestion that we always recommend is to pre-program either a number or a set of badges that can be used for guests or visitors when they arrive. That way you're not scrambling to get them loaded and to let them go through.
Okay, that for now, that's the only question I have. I have a few that I'm going back and forth to get some clarification on. Okay. At the next break, I'll bring those up to you. Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks.
Okay, so now getting into the software side of the Smartlog, the software is going to do a number of different things. I'm really just going to focus on a few of the features that our quality engineers and our coordinators would typically use on a daily basis. This slide right here just kind of gives you a brief view of what it can do, but instead of actually just covering it in this slide, I'm going to bring up a live version of the actual application and take you through some of those actual features. So the software is designed to be installed one time and either managed by a single person or multiple supervisors. So you can either dedicate one person or distribute some of those responsibilities across multiple supervisors. The one thing I want to emphasize is that this software is something we fully support. So when you invest in this type of system, you're also investing in our support. So we'll assist you with remote installation, we'll assist you with remote training, as well as remote troubleshooting. It's something myself and my team dedicate our time to doing. So you're not just going to receive this system with a 100-page user guide. This is something that either myself or our guys will reach out to you and make sure that it's installed and up and running and you're familiar with it before you start using it. Now, once your equipment is installed and your software is loaded and you start to communicate with the tester, communication is designed to be there 24/7. That way, as a person tests and a result comes in, you're aware of it. The one big feature to our software is that notifications go out periodically throughout the day. Now you have our daily reports, which if I were to illustrate here, these go out during a specific time of the day. You choose who it goes to, you choose what information is displayed, and you choose how often it goes out. It's pretty common to receive at least one report a day or at the start of each shift, so you can capture that people are at least testing once a day. Depending on what you as an engineer and quality person require, that could be multiple times. So as many tests as you perform as an operator, those are captured in our program and distributed amongst supervisors. So this is kind of an example of what a typical report would look like. This is giving me all the information that's taken place from this particular day. And again, the software is designed to be talking to the tester 24/7. So as I enable polling, it's going to tell me that the tester is online. I'm talking to it every 10 seconds. So Greg had performed some tests earlier, and if I were to just refresh, I'm going to be able to ask Greg to perform that test. So Greg, if you can perform 1 or 2 tests right now, I can show the audience some of those results that come in. But the one key thing is that each time a test is performed, again, within a matter of seconds, up to a minute, you're going to receive those results in the program. And the key feature is that as a test comes in, it's reported to a supervisor. That way the supervisor is comfortable knowing that the person at their bench has tested because my software and the reports are showing that. So here's the test that Greg just performed. You can see it was done just a few seconds ago. If I actually also were to click on Greg's profile, it's going to give me a history of all the tests he performed within a certain time period. So the important thing to know is that we're capturing in this software everything, every test that was done, whether it's a single time or multiple times. And like I'd mentioned previously, one thing the paper logs don't do is tell you how many tries it took to get that overall pass result. So within our system, you're able to see this person tested almost 10 times or 13 times today, and finally they got to a point where they passed. So that's kind of the benefit of having a software-driven program like the Smartlog and the software, is that whether you want to be notified via email, or like this software has the ability to demonstrate those same results over a web page. The software is capable of doing that. And this web page reporting is probably the highlight of the program, because you're typically not at your desk and looking at reports 24/7. So a report that came in at 8 a.m. and you looked at it at 8:30 could have stale information. So what the web report does, it allows you to open up this report, any computer that's on your network, as well as if you're remote. And this also gives you the ability to not have to be at your facility to identify if people are testing, because you can look at these results remotely. So this report refreshes either manually or automatically, depending on how you set it up. And with more and more of the engineers, setting up monitors and the EPA that display work orders and so on, publishing this report just allows the operators to self-police. So instead of putting all that pressure on the supervisor to make sure each one of their 50 operators has tested, you can apply that back to the operator. Because if they see their name on that screen and it's showing a fail high, they're gonna believe that so can my supervisor. So let me rush back to that tester, perform a test, correct my previous result, and remove my name from this web report. So whether it's an email, whether it's through the web, as well as some of our email functions, you're going to get up-to-date results as they happen or when you need them. And this is all what's going to eliminate the need for you to collect anything manually or worry about if people are actually using the equipment. So in the event that you did need to pull up a record from a previous time period, the software is going to give you that capability, because it gives you a calendar feature where you can pull up any time period from the day you were using it to display results. And once those results are displayed, you're able to export those via email, print them, or save them to a directory and open those up on another PC. So again, obviously there's a lot of features built into this program. 90% of it is customer driven. So the benefit to our software is that if there's something that it's lacking or something that can be improved, we appreciate your feedback and we'll apply that. So again, everything that you've seen here on the software and on the testers are all customer driven. And if there is something unique or something specific that you want me to go through, we do these demonstrations weekly when it comes to this particular system, the Smartlog. So if you want to sign up for a day of just dedicated to this system, and it's about a 45-minute presentation that we go through to give you the full aspects of what this system can do, feel free to email us and let us know, and we'll organize those basically on the fly. We work around the different time zones, so we have coverage depending on where you're located. So getting kind of back here to the PowerPoint, again, it monitors all activity of operators and testers. Reports are available via email and web. We have the ability to synchronize our system with your personal system. Things like an HR system, an MES system, we have those abilities. Notifications go out to identify if there's problems right away. And then the support agreement is included with the purchase. So will be available for any type of, again, training, troubleshooting, or installation that takes place with this particular system. Now, that kind of wraps up this section, as well as this webinar. One thing we wanted to field is some questions to see if anything's come up. So I'll go ahead and pass it back on to Jeffrey.
Paul, we got a few here. First one, can you, how do we integrate an existing database with whatever employee database they have into the Smartlog system? How do they talk to each other?
So we have So there are two versions of the software. You have a basic version that allows you to import a spreadsheet of users, and that typically can be provided by security, HR, whoever maintains the Active Directory. We can assist you with getting it into a spreadsheet form and then being uploaded into our software. That's the basic version. The server edition that we offer allows us to directly connect to that MES or that Active Directory through some type of ODBC connection. So with every few, I believe it's every 60 seconds, we'll reach out to your database, we'll see if there's any new operators, terminated operators, and then feed that into our system and automatically adjust it. So you're not having to maintain two separate user databases. So again,
Gotcha.
in the basic version, a spreadsheet. In the server edition, we can do that through what we call a synchronization process.
Okay, cool. Another question about the Smartlog. How many? I know it has memory capabilities. How many tests can it store? And can you talk a little bit about how often it connects to the software?
Yeah, so the advantage that this tester has, like you'd mentioned, it has built-in memory. You know, the ideal situation is it's talking on the network 24/7. You know, but we understand networks go out for general maintenance. When that happens, the big feature to our system is that the operators won't see any effect of that. It'll collect the data, it'll act like normal as a standalone. All those transactions get stored on the tester, and the tester's memory will store millions of transactions. You know, each transaction is only a kilobyte, and this thing has an 8 gig SD card. So we'll store millions worth of transactions. And obviously the hope is your network issues are only 5 to 10 minutes. But again, we wanted to make sure the operators weren't affected. They'll continue to test, you'll continue to get those results. So when everything is functional again, they'll flood into our software at the rate of every 60 seconds. So every 60 seconds, you know, by default, we'll look to retrieve any transactions on the tester.
Gotcha. How does what are the connection options for the Smartlog to the network?
The most reliable connection is a dedicated Ethernet line. That's what the majority of you know, the engineers and quality guys have established. You dedicate an Ethernet line to the tester. The tester is then provided a fixed IP address, and then the software looks for that IP address. So our recommendation would be a hardwired connection via the Ethernet, and that will provide the most reliable and the fastest communication to and from the tester and software.
Another question: what's the warranty for the for the testers? I know the Smartlog, the X3 and the X3 Plus are going to be 1 year. What do we offer on the Smartlog?
Yeah, that's across the board. It's going to be 1 year, a 1 year limited warranty. So, you know, if something happens within that first year, you know, the return will be under warranty. The one thing that we have with the Smartlog is we've established a loaner program. So if your Smartlog goes down for general maintenance, we have a program that allows you to receive a loaner in its place while yours is getting maintained. So we give you the option to continue functioning while yours is being serviced as part of our loaner program. But across the board, all three testers offer a 1 year limited warranty from the purchase date.
Okay. One for Greg. Greg, are you still there?
Yeah, still there, Joe.
What are the cleaning required? What are the recommended cleaning methods for the touch testers or the Smartlogs with COVID?
That's a very good question. Yeah, very good question, especially now with the COVID-19 issue. We get this question a lot too about ESD map materials, you know, work surfaces, things like that. We know that a solution of at least 70% isopropyl alcohol will kill the virus. When it comes to an ESD work surface, you know, we recommend that about a 70 to 30% solution of alcohol is the best way to go, and then a follow-up with an ESD cleaner like our Restore Mat Cleaner. But when it comes to our testers, we're talking about all metal surfaces here. contact switches, things like that. So you can just use a swab or a wiper and straight alcohol to clean that. And in keeping with that, you also want to keep your foot plates clean regularly also, because that, dirty foot plates will interfere with the resistance of the body. So basically just alcohol on the switches and you're good. Any other questions?
Another one for Paul here. Stand by though, Greg, please. Where I lost my information here. Oh, Paul, the meetings that you do to discuss the that you set up, those don't cost anything, right? Those are free of charge.
Correct.
And how would somebody get a hold of you?
Correct. Yeah. Any meeting that I hold that is focused on the Smartlog and software, it's all done at no charge. They typically last about 45 minutes. And the best way on the Emit website, so whether it's the Desco side or the Desco Emit website, because there's two separate sites, you could submit a request by just a general questions inquiry. My contact information, which I'll show here up now. My contact information is right here, so you can reach me directly on my line. You can also reach me via email, and a quick just correction to my email. It's paul.rosas@desco.com. The emit has been removed. So whether it's a phone call, whether it's an email, or just going onto our website, they can submit a request for a demonstration. And again, it's no charge, and we accommodate different time zones. So we're obviously in California, but we can accommodate the East Coast, Midwest, and so on.
Okay, I thank you guys. That's all the questions we really can answer here. We can probably, there are some that will follow up with people in an email or a phone call after this to discuss further. If you have further questions, please reach out to Paul or Greg, or contact us directly at the customer service line with Desco. We're happy to answer any of those questions and help you decide on a product for testing foot grounders and wrist straps. So let us know what we can do to help you. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it up for just a second because sometimes the questions and stuff come up. But